tiring experience. Whether it's sudden or whether, unfortunate for some people, they have
a long illness.
Yes, that's right. And, so they get very tired. So, in order for somebody to feel refreshed and be able to reflect very easily and, I suppose, honestly and openly without, people get irritated when they're tired, don't they?
Yeah.
They can
Cranky.
reflect more openly, so they're given that opportunity so that they can talk about it easier. And they've had time to reflect as well.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting how that our soulmates, or some religions don't like to refer to them as soulmates. They might be called something else, but I believe that that's true. But that's only my belief. But also, it is very important, really, to recognise if they are your soulmate, or you may get a bit of deja vu with somebody. You just have that instant click, like we did. I think it's really important, and to cherish it as well.
Absolutely.
But Goldberg also talks about future lives, and he's saying that in the 22nd century, all solar power will be incorporated into everyday life. He talks that the lifespan of the average person will be increased to 90 years. Cancer and AIDS will be finally cured. And that in the 23rd century, it will be characterised by noiseless and efficient transportation.
Wow.
He
totally put my hand up for that one.
Yeah.
I'm coming back.
He also says that there'll be a small-scale nuclear war in the 24th century, and that in the 25th we will finally be able to control the weather. And all of this will be, from his research, from his ability to contact the higher self through the other side, whether it's, I believe it's more his clients that he's doing it through, where he's able to send them back into the heavenly realms, and they come back with the information, or he's actually able during the time. I know that there are some pieces, clips in his book where there is actually the verbatim where he's talked to the client has given the information back. So ask yourself a few questions. If you don't believe in any of this, you're right. But how comes we have people like Brian Weiss, Michael Newton,
Edgar Cayce.
Yeah, Edgar Cayce, and now somebody like Goldberg, who have all got very similar information, if not exactly the same, and it's all coming from the same source. And so hypnosis is very powerful, but not only that, it's given us a lot of answers to our questions.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to answer a few questions by having a look at our tarot card, and then I'm going to ask Claudia to go over the numerology, which I think would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything before?
Yeah, I was going to say, like with Edgar Cayce, which we've touched on in the last couple of weeks, that's going along with what you just said. When you read his books, it's identical. The information that he also put out there, so it's kind of comforting. But I do know too that when Newton was working with his subjects, his clients, whatever, the information that was coming through was stuff that he was allowed to hear and record. But I do know from reading the books that there were times when he would ask very specific questions that the client's soul or the subject's soul or whoever, that sometimes their guide even would come through and speak on their behalf, and they would come back and say, you're not allowed to know that. So we don't know everything.
It's suppose it's we're not allowed access to that information.
That's right. So whatever was gleaned out from those conversations that he was having with his hypnotized subjects, Spirit World has said, okay, yep, I'll give you that little bit, and I'll give you that little tidbit. No, don't tell him that because that's too much.
You know what I mean? That, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought that was really interesting. So there's still, coming back to what I was saying before, there is this precision, this control, this preciseness in the spirit world of how things are run, and there's no straying from that path. And someone is giving us these little tidbits of information, and that information's always been there. Like when you talk to someone like who's Indigenous, Native American, whatever, their connection to spirit has never been broken. Whereas I think in the Western world, we've kind of gotten so caught up in with what we're doing down here that we forget about that connection, whereas they don't. And
I don't know. It's. I think for predominantly for the Western world, you're right. But I'm from the Western world, and I think because we've got very cultural Celtic links. Ireland and Scotland, there is that understanding, the afterlife, and we are very spiritual. But I suppose anybody who's caught up in commercialism and moved away from belief in anything spiritual is not going to want to know or accept. Yeah. It's amazing, actually, how little people do understand, but what is out there, in the afterworld.
Well, I find it really interesting too that in the world of television and film and YouTube and all that. Now all of a sudden we have some really amazing these TV psychics that are coming on board now, and I follow them. Like the youngest one at the moment is that Tyler Henry. He's based out in Hollywood. Like this guy's like 19 years old, and he's just lovely. He's really just the sweetest person. I'd love to meet him. Yeah. Then you've got Teresa Caputo, who's referred to as the Long Island medium. She's hysterical. Yeah. And she's so from Long Island with that accent. But she's been doing her show for probably, 10, 15 years. And she's quite remarkable too. Her whole life story is remarkable. So I think sometimes Spirit's kind of allowing these people to now come into our world just to sort of help us reconnect, is what I was getting at.
Oh, right, okay. Because it's amazing. If you go looking for it, you'll find it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you start digging. But it's amazing how a lot of that is kind of uncovered. I get the feeling whether, there's forces at work that try and stop you. Yeah. And also the other thing I forgot to mention was the karma from the evaluation. So, there's
good old karma.
There's lessons that you haven't learnt. You will have the opportunity. You're not punished. You have the opportunity to come back and relive that, so that you do develop abilities to overcome certain emotional obstacles or other kind of like negative. You shouldn't call them attributes, but more like idiosyncrasies. Those kind of things. Yeah. So let's go back to the tarot card. Yep. So for anybody out there who's out wanting questions answered, this is for you, because this is the Ace of Wands. And the ace means new beginnings and vitality and new opportunities. And also the wands, because it's the element of fire, it literally means a new spark. So the new energy and action is really very much about the external world and getting out there and doing it. Get out there and do it, for God's sake. Stop fannying around, as we say. Just get on with it. And, key phrases that come to mind when I think about the Ace of Wands is that, it's belief in your abilities, knowing the way forward, have confidence, because when you think about your intuition and people talk about the voice that comes to them, that's actually the psychic. The first voice or thought is the psychic. The second is your own. So when you question it, it's your own. So know that and be confident in the way forward. Face up to facts as well. That's the negative side of it. You keep redoing the same old shit and not getting anywhere. Well,
that's my dog drinking, by the way.
Ask yourself, what do you need to do to change it? Get off that merry-go-round and change stuff so that it can provide the door, where you want to be. Sexual initiative. If you're in a relationship, male or female, now is the time. Other stuff that you're passionate about in your life, go for it. If you want to go and spend 2 weeks camping in the Kimberleys, go and do that. If you want to go and spend 6 months living in a monastery with a bunch of monks, do that. If you want to go and ski down the Alps, do that. If you want to jump out of a helicopter, but if you want to be at home and do something quiet and read a book or write a book, do it. Do what comes up. And as I said, face up to the facts. So I'm going to hand over to Claudia, and she will enlighten you about numerology.
Yeah, so once again, our card of the day is the Ace of Wands, which I think wands is sometimes to do with work as well, isn't it?
Yes,
working
life. Yeah, but it's more to do with swords work.
Right, okay. The only reason I asked that is because from a numerological perspective, the Ace of Wands comes up as the 27/9. So the base number is a 9. A 9 represents a culmination of things coming to an end, conclusions, endings, preparing for new beginnings. So in this case, because it's the Wands, it highlights a business or work. So there's a potential that a job that you're currently doing or a business you're currently running is going to be coming to an end. And this is preparing the way for new work, a new job, a new business, something like that. So there's a little message out there for whoever needs to hear it. It's also in relation to spiritual strength, birth, and as I said, new beginnings. It can also be the beginning of your fortune. And happenings now will bring wealth and prosperity and new adventures. And the only downside numerologically is delays, feelings of unhappiness, and obviously the end of your business. You're thinking, oh, it's failing or whatever, but everything happens for a reason. Remember that, guys. Everything happens for a reason. So once you let go of what's familiar to you and what makes you comfortable, just go with that feeling that something needs to come to an end, because there's something waiting for you just around the corner that's much, much better. But you've got to let go. Just let it go.
I think it's really, the emphasis is back to that spark. You know, it's literally a new spark. So it is letting go, moving forward. So it's the end of one and a new life, a new opportunity or a new project. So just do it. If you're wanting the answer, if somebody out there or thousands of you are out there saying, I don't know what to do next, just go and do it.
Yep.
Don't fear.
What's stopping you?
Yeah. Anyway, I think we are about to wrap up and maybe talk about promoting.
Oh, yes, Nadia, do you have a book?
Yeah, it's called Past Lives, Future Lives, and revealed by Dr. Bruce Goldberg. You can get them from Amazon. You can get them easy because you can get the what's it called, the e-version.
E-books, there's thrift books, there's Booktopia, there's all kinds of them out there.
Download them. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And so, that's from me. That's the promotion for the book. It's called Past Lives, Future Lives, revealed Dr. Bruce Goldberg.
Yep, and I mentioned all of Dr. Michael Newton's books, so go and have a look for those. They're such an interesting read, really.
Yep.
Quote for the day. Until you give up the idea that happiness is somewhere else, it will never be where you are. And that was by Dr. Robert Holden, PhD, who's apparently Britain's foremost expert on happiness. And he's a psychologist, so there you go. I like that.
Where can you find us, Claudia?
You can find us on YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, iHeartRadio, and of course Spotify. And you can also email us at thenuminous@hotmail.com. And you can find us on Facebook, The Numinous Factor.
Or Instagram.
Yes, we're on Instagram now too. I have to keep remembering to mention that. A very big thank you to Russell Walder, as always, for our music. And what are we going to be talking about next week?
So we're going to be talking about frequency and vibration, and some of that will cover soulmates. But if you've got any questions, we would really like you to write in, email us. You can contact us on Instagram, any of the other social media. But don't forget, we want your questions, we love your feedback, and we're looking forward to meeting with you next episode. Take care.
Yes, and we'll see you next week, guys. Have an awesome week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
See you later.
All right, see you later, guys. Bye.